Every month or so, despite knowing that a change to the results is unlikely, I'll look through Steam's Dinosaur tag hoping to find something interesting. And my efforts paid off, because just recently I found that something. Sandwiched in between low-effort simulators, AI slop, and around 20 Jurassic World Evolution DLCs was Manitas Kitchen, a cartoonish cooking game developed by Little Arrow Games, released just last year. It already looked charming enough, but what really caught my eye was the fact that pretty much nobody has played it, and that's an opportunity I just can't pass up. The gameplay loop of Manitas Kitchen is quite simple. You receive orders from customers, either through acquiring them over time or completing the ones you already have. You are then tasked with kneading the dough, adding the sauce and toppings, and baking it in the oven before delivering it through a tube. You have roughly 90 seconds to do this per pizza, giving you a lot of time, but this can take down quicker than expected with multiple orders or failed pizzas. Failure conditions include burning your pizza in the oven, or making an impossible ingredient combination. The latter is most likely to happen when you have multiple different orders on standby, and the chopping board gives you a mix of those ingredients, meaning you have to be extra careful or you'll mess up what you're trying to make. You'll play through this routine for roughly 4.5 minutes each day. Then there's the nighttime segments, 3-minute long extras that will become more common over time. The biggest thing you're going to need to watch out for here are the torches on the wall that can go out at seemingly random times. You're heavily encouraged to turn these back on before you start or add to a pizza. Darkness covering the dough countertop will make it take significantly longer to knead. Using a dark counter for ingredients will result in mystery ingredients on the board, which can be absolutely anything from the toppings menu, including items that you don't have, and this turns getting the ones you need into a nightmare. The sauce minigame also seems to be a little quicker to throw you off. Accompanying you throughout the game will be 3 helpers, unlocked automatically as you progress. These characters, alongside Trexito, have their own unique abilities that will help you throughout the day. Trexito is able to instantly add all the ingredients from your top order to any empty pizza, letting you save time on orders with high levels of ingredients or allowing you to quickly prepare a second order for future use. Freckles the Ankylosaurus is able to prepare dough without the player's interaction, definitely the most reliable and commonly used ability. Marsh the Triceratops is able to instantly cook pizzas with their awesome-ass flamethrower, which can really help out in a pinch or to make backup pizzas. And Collini the Pteranodon will source your pizzas for you. While this can be a nice time saver, sourcing pizzas is already the fastest action in the game, and I also couldn't find an obvious link for what determines the sauce they use and which pizza it gets used on, making this one the most risky to use. These extra characters are all disabled during most of the nighttime sections, adding to the challenge. After every play segment comes your much-earned downtime. Here you can use the money you've made from selling pizzas to upgrade abilities, giving you some very important mid to late game perks, as well as new ingredients to help unlock different types of pizza. You can also clean up sabotaged areas of your kitchen that will make the game harder for you if not fixed up before opening. On top of that is the journal, where you can read up on the characters you've met as well as the pizzas that you're able to make. The story of Manitas Kitchen follows a T-Rex with a culinary degree and their Brachiosaurus sibling Alpidino, trying to make it in the cooking business on a planet that was turned into pizza by a cheese meteor. Your business and its employees slowly grow over time, and you will begin serving important clients during nighttime such as Stegojima. There's a slow build-up of suspicious dialogue and occurrences as you progress, including those sabotages previously mentioned. It's eventually revealed that Alpidino has been doing contracts with mob bosses to make money for their family, and worked their way up to becoming the head of the organization, literally Breaking Bad. One day, while closing up, a rookie assassin from an enemy gang is able to get the drop on them. Trexito saves Alpidino by jumping in front of the crossbow bolt, and ends up hospitalized. Once they rest up, Alpidino asks them to keep cooking, but decides to flee the country so that they will be safer while doing so. Later on, they'll return and test the player with seemingly poisoning the rival gang members with a special pizza, so that they are deterred from the restaurant and the business can thrive as usual. And that's how Trexito became the Manitas Kitchen. I want to start by pointing out that this game's primitive aesthetic is very pleasing and cozy. The egg-shaped pizza oven, seashell phone, the countertops carved out of stone, love it. The dinosaurs themselves fit decently well into the room around them, not being too over-detailed or going too messy with the coloration. It's cute and inviting, exactly what you want from this type of game. I can very much appreciate how wild and silly the story is, and the characters themselves have a fair bit of personality despite how little screen time some of them are given. They're also all non-binary, and if you have a keen eye you'll realise that this is actually a subtle reference to the fact that trans people are bad at naming themselves. The gameplay has enough challenging elements like the nighttime parts and the mixed ingredients to keep you on your toes without straying away from the casual experience that it advertises. The safety net, I suppose you would call it, presuming you do struggle a bit with the game's mechanics, is the fact that there's not really a way to lose. You just keep going no matter how poorly you do, and thank God too, because I cannot imagine having to start the campaign all over again. It is long. And that brings me to the negatives, because no game is without its flaws, most notably of course the extent to which it drags on. And I mean really drags on. My playthrough was about 8 to 9 hours long. Even after I unlocked everything, it still took another hour and a half for the story to wrap itself up. That is a lot of time to spend on what is at the end of the day a very simple and very repetitive gameplay loop, even if I don't think it's a bad one. Included in this problem is the build-up of frustration involved with having to do the nighttime segments, as during the money grind for characters and ingredients you're going to have to play a lot of them. The fun involved with playing the game a little differently soon wears off and you end up putting just as much effort into these sections for half the rewards, since the ways in which you can optimize making the pizzas is much more limited. But the worst thing about these nights, by far, is the fact that you are once again forced to use the dough counter even after making it entirely redundant during the standard gameplay due to having upgraded the abilities. Maybe I'm just growing old, at the senior age of 19, but having to spam keys often in any game feels awful on the fingers. This definitely could have been toned down to make things a little easier on the player, instead of speeding up my inevitable nerve damage. I also feel like the cutting board somewhat suffers as you play too, with it becoming increasingly difficult to keep track of all the pizzas and their ingredients, making it kind of annoying to use the board with multiple mid to late game orders, as opposed to it just being more of a patience check in the first half of the game. And really the only other issues with the game come down to bugs and general clunkiness that could probably be fixed at any time, though that isn't very likely considering it's been half a year since they updated the game. These include pizzas and orders floating in the air after a day ends, pizza orders not fully coming onto screen blocking their timers and even their ingredients, which sometimes forces you to play the guessing game, unclear prompts on the torches, and the sauce picker being constantly unresponsive to my button pressing. Despite its relatively basic gameplay, I feel like there's a lot to like about Manitas Kitchen, but also a good many reasons why someone wouldn't want to give it a go. It's long overdue for a patch, even if no extra content is added and no major changes are made. And if we're being honest, it doesn't particularly excel at anything to make its flaws less distracting. I think the best way to describe how I feel about this game is this. If you're looking for a cooking game, then this is a solid option. It does well enough at what it sets out to do that I can't call it bad, even by the standards of someone who generally isn't interested in games like this. However, if you're looking at buying this game just because it has dinosaurs in it, you're probably much less likely to enjoy playing it. So with everything considered, I think that Manitas Kitchen is a comfortable C-tier dinosaur game. Oh, did I not mention that this is the start of a dinosaur game tier list? Well, I hope you enjoyed this video because I plan to make more in the future. Please go down to the link in the description and vote on the community rankings for the upcoming games if you haven't already. I'll only be closing it down once I release the Hunter Primal episode. And if Manitas Kitchen interests you at all, please give it a try. The developers deserve a lot more for the passion they put into this sweet little experience. Thanks for watching. See you next time.